So, Maria, thank you for joining us here today. And first of all, I would like to wish you a happy and prosperous year. And for all of the viewers who's watching, today we have with us Poker Hall of Famer, and maybe for those who are not familiar, the Maria has been the last woman standing 4 different times in the main event at the World Series of the Poker. She won millions of dollars in your career. You built TV career, and easily you are the most successful and recognizable people in the poker history. So Maria, thank you for joining us here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's dive first in your kind of poker roots. So is it true that you discovered poker while studying psychology at university, and that you won the first game you ever played? I mean, is it true?
Yeah, so I was in university in San Diego, and I didn't know anybody when I went to college. I had to, make all new friends, and some of my friends had a poker game every week. And for whatever reason, no women were ever invited or allowed to go to their poker game. So of course, that made it even more interesting for me to try to get invited. And so one day I knew what they were playing. They were playing in their dorm room, in their apartment. So I just showed up and I had free beer and I was like, you guys got to let me play. So they let me play. And yeah, the very first time I did very well, but I had no idea what I was doing. So of course, that's enough to get somebody really hooked on the game,
Yeah, and do you think that the things would have gone on different trajectory if you would lost that one game? I mean, it was encouraging, that one particular game.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the saying, fake it until you make it, right? Confidence means so much in your head, especially the psychology part. If you believe that you can do it, or if you think you're good at something, maybe you're not good yet, but it'll make you want to get good. And so, even though, if I had lost, I probably wouldn't have been as interested. And so even though I didn't know what I was doing back then, I think I really wanted to prove myself afterwards.
Exactly. I mean, we can assume that you're pretty good at reading people, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think especially for women, I think poker is such a great game because I really believe in female intuition. And I feel like I've always had a really good instinct. I always had a really strong gut feeling about things. And that's something that's really served me well in poker. I've been able to use that in poker to figure out if my opponents are weak in a hand or if they're strong in a hand. And I think when I started listening to my instincts more, that was when I really succeeded in the game.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, the women's intuition is something, you can't beat. I mean, it really exists, and I can really feel it as well. But in addition to your impressive winnings, your success in a World Series of Poker, this definitely seemed to open your door, in other spheres like broadcasting and sponsorship. So, but this surely have piled on awful lot of pressure and expectations. So how do you cope with that aspect?
Yeah, I could have never expected that poker would have led me down all of these other paths, and so it's something that I always kind of felt uncomfortable, maybe putting myself out there or maybe being in the spotlight. And of course, even doing broadcasting or being on TV, I always cringe when I see myself. Like, I hate watching myself after. And I kind of realized, that when you start doing those types of things, it kind of opens you up to maybe more criticism, and people have expectations of how you're supposed to be. And when I was younger, I used to read all of the comments, under your YouTube video or whatever it is. And then you just realize that you can't pay attention so much to kind of all of the outside forces. I love poker. I love broadcasting. I love all of the different avenues it's taken me down. And so I've been able to kind of be more at peace with and be more comfortable with who I am, so that I can just focus on doing what I love and not so much on all of the outside pressure.
Yeah, I think it's also very good advice for these days, because back in the days, when you were starting, it was not like it's as a huge career as now. I mean, these days, being influencer, being the YouTuber or Twitcher, is like a main career for many people, and it definitely put a lot of pressure on the many people. But I think that people start to realize that, I mean, we all learning and at some point in our lives. So we need to be comfortable with ourselves. But in the interview, we're talking about, the us and the character features. An interview on Poker Go, your sister Judy said that you had as a child kind of dark side, that you were a bit of, the wild child as a teenager. So do you think that this rebellious side helped you in your career?
I mean, absolutely. And I wish I could say my sister was lying, but she was definitely telling the truth. I was not an easy teenager. I think my sister was such the perfectionist, and she was, my parents felt like my sister did everything that she was told, and it made me want to do the opposite, actually. So I guess I have my sister to thank for that. But without that kind of rebellious streak in me, I don't think that I would have found poker and pursued poker and have taken the risks that I've taken. I've always wanted to go against the grain and to do something unconventional and something that most people probably wouldn't try. And so I really feel like, even though I caused my parents a lot of problems when I was younger, I'm actually really thankful that I had that personality trait in me, because I don't think I would have ended up where I am now without it.
Exactly, especially in a male-dominated industry, and that's actually my another, question. I mean, it's obvious, the poker is male-dominated in the industry or the space. So does it even bother you that people still make kind of distinguish between, the female and the male players anymore? I mean, does it anyhow bother you?
Yeah, it definitely does. I feel like for them to view poker in a game where maybe they think women should have their own events and men have their own events, I mean, to that I say, what about poker as a game makes it, not an advantage to be a woman? This is not a competition of strength. This is a competition of will and your wits and psychology. And so much of that, I think women actually have an edge over men in that department. So, even though I'm really proud of all of my accomplishments and I hope to inspire more women, I don't ever want it to be viewed as a thing where it's the most successful female player and then the most successful male player. I think there's so many women that are already the best in the world at poker, and I just want us to be talked about that way. And I think in conversations, I don't want there to be this distinction based on gender, because I think that it's saying something about the game that doesn't exist. And for me, I've never looked at it as I'm at a disadvantage because I'm a woman, and I don't want other women to approach it that way either.
Exactly. Because it can be definitely uncomfortable, but do you have any advice for aspiring female poker players? I mean, you're the top, female player, and I hate to say the poker player. So do you have any maybe advice for those women who would like to, approach this career?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is when people kind of make you feel a little bit like an outsider or maybe you don't belong. I think a lot of our own self doubt gets in the way. And so I think we should focus more on the things that we can control within our environment and empower ourselves to feel like we belong or that we are able to be just as successful. Because very early on in my poker career, sometimes I started believing all of those other voices out outside of me, and the people that were telling me, okay, Maria, we don't really think poker is a great career choice for a woman. And I just started, developing a stronger sense of, who I am, what I'm capable of. And so it really just goes back to being confident in yourself and your own abilities, and not looking at the fact that it's so male dominated, and not looking at the fact that there's so few women in poker, and just trying to focus on the factors that you can control. Like, I studied so much. I really tried to learn the game, because for me, I don't care if somebody else tells me whether or not I can succeed. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing everything I can in my power to find success.
Yeah, I mean, that's excellent advice. I mean, for anyone, not only for aspiring the poker players. And we were talking about your roots, the family roots, and about your sister. And you were just 4 years old when you arrived in the US from the Taiwan with your whole family. And you said many times that especially first years were pretty hard, for sure. So someone who's experienced that friction and the challenge in life, but also gone on build hugely successful career, what would you say to immigrants who's trying to build their lives and careers, and it's definitely much more challenging than do it in your homeland?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of immigrants have one thing going for them, and that's we're fighters. We have a lot of grit within us. And I think anytime our back is against the wall, that's when we're going to rise to the occasion. Because when I came to the US, I saw how hard my parents struggled, and I saw how hard it was for them to fit in. And even as a child, I felt like I didn't belong, and I felt kind of uncomfortable in my surroundings all of the time. But I think that that really gave me the focus to pursue something that I really loved. And so even though we all, might immigrate somewhere for a better life, I tried to never look at it as a money and a financial thing, and more like, what passions am I able to pursue in this new country that maybe at home in Taiwan I would have never had the opportunity to. So, just thinking outside of the box, and not letting other people kind of dictate your path. I think that we've all been able to kind of find our path even in a new country. And so, I mean, for a lot of the people that I've spoken to, friends that I grew up with that were also immigrants, I feel like we just have a lot of heart. And I think we just keep pursuing what's most important to us.
Yeah, I mean, I think, in the head, like, I'm immigrant as well, since, I used to live in Malta. You've been in Malta. You host 2 times the Battle of Malta, right?
Yeah.
How did you enjoy Malta?
Yeah, I loved Malta. It's beautiful there.
Exactly. And,
I
so,
mean, it was great. There was this one amazing bar. Yeah. There's
yeah.
an amazing bar there that I love. It's like my favorite bar in the whole world.
Can
So,
you
yeah.
can you remember the name or the place where it was?
It's called Jules.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's called Jules, and it's
Oh,
this like Jamaican vibe in Malta. It's like down this really tiny street. Oh my gosh, such fun memories.
yes, I have to say, like, when I moved in Malta when I was like 20. So yeah, I had the first very great memories. It was from that bar. It's kind of very famous place in Malta.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, it's I think many of the viewers would agree with us that it's a cool place on the island. But as we were talking, you were hosting so many events. You're the broadcaster, you're the player, you build a TV career. I mean, we can go on. So overall, what's been the best part of your career so far? I mean, winning big at the World Series, or the opportunities like going an amazing race with Tiffany Michelle.
I think that so far to date, my best, craziest life experience has to be Amazing Race. I think that that is the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. It was so extremely challenging. I learned a lot about myself. Um, I've never really been put into a lot of really physical type challenges. Growing up, I was never an athletic kid. And that's also why I wanted to be on The Amazing Race, was because I knew it was something completely outside of my comfort zone. Um, but even though I've been competing at the highest levels in poker, there's nothing like the type of competition that The Amazing Race was like. It Every day you woke up, you had no idea where you were going to go, what you were going to do. And for me, I'm a total control freak. So it was very scary to have all of these unknowns being thrown at you. But it was the best experience of my life. And I would do it again, even though it was very, very hard.
Yeah, I mean, like, and if you say, because I could see on the YouTube, on even you're playing, and I have to say, I have to give you a huge compliment because I love you. I mean, you're such a badass, and those and those and those guys, they were just rolling your eyes, like I love it. I mean, we need women like this, it's not only in the poker industry but in general, because I think the everyone needs it, the whole ecosystem needs it. And I really, we're involved in the gaming, in the gambling industry, but also in the esports industry. And I see that, no matter where, the female perspective is very important to have, because if there is only the male perspective, we can't blame them. I mean, it's gonna be decided from male perspective. So it's very important, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think all of those things that you mentioned, like esports or, chess and so many other games, if there are not more women trying to rewrite that narrative, then, we definitely want to take the responsibility of saying, okay, we want to be a part of these communities and we could be just as successful. And so I really hope that, more women, especially lately with Queen's Gambit or whatever inspirational content that's out there, more women are going to join the forces and enter these industries.
Exactly. Isn't it amazing that, like how the chess chess space, got booming, I mean, with the Twitchers and with the Netflix, and like, and here we are. And at the moment, like, it's a big topic, and there's a lot of articles about, if it's esport and if it should be considered as an esport. And I mean,
Mhm.
there's a big, huge future for these chess players, definitely.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, only a female can make chess look that sexy. You
I
know what I
mean,
mean? Now, like, chess is cool. Like, chess is actually really cool. So,
exactly, and it's great example also for like young folks. I mean, to actually do something constructive in a life, and to be passionate about something. So it's very cool. But you know what are you working at the moment? I mean, can you tell us if something about your plans at the moment? Can you tell us something in the pipeline?
yeah, I mean, so obviously with the pandemic, there's so many things going on virtually and remotely now. So I'm very lucky that poker has been kind of a smooth transition into this space. I'm still continuing to play online. I've been doing a lot of remote broadcasts for poker as well. But I've been starting to work on a book over the pandemic. So, I think it's going to be a little bit of a hybrid between strategy, but also just a little bit of a memoir about kind of my life story. And I think that it's really important to talk about that because, as you had mentioned, if I wasn't, an immigrant, and if I didn't have that type of fighting spirit, and if I wasn't, so defiant growing up, I probably would have never found poker. And so it's just one of those things that I hope can really challenge and inspire other women to maybe pursue something that they didn't ever really consider before.
Oh, I can't wait to read it. Hopefully it's gonna be hopefully it's gonna be done soon, and we're gonna be able to read it, because your story is most certainly very interesting. And I think that many women can be inspired by your story, because it's like it's a mesh of everything, as you said. Like there were so many challenges. You are absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, and intelligent woman, and also with a very special story in a special industry. So I believe it's going to be interesting for many people. And Maria, thank you so much for joining me here today. I really appreciate you shared with us with your insights, your opinions and advices, and I'm pretty sure that our viewers will find it very interesting.
Thank you for your time and thanks for having me.
Oh, Maria, thank you so much. Have a nice day.